Slow robot. Okay. We're going to talk more about creative stuff. Specifically about finding inspiration and breaking out of ruts and that sort of thing. And this particular video is going to be kind of a philosophical, overarching kind of concepts and ideas video. I'll be doing probably several additional videos down the line about like going into more specifics about how you might take use a particular kind of technique or something to break out of a rut, different things you can do to try and shake ideas out and that sort of thing. But yeah, this one's going to be very kind of overarching philosophical kind of discussion. So the first couple things that I want to kind of talk about are a couple of just rules. I don't really like rules, but there are a couple rules that I follow and I think are very important. The first one is what I call the golden rule of creativity, which is not really just about being creative, but it's, because we are creatives and because we create things that are subjective, we're operating in the realm of opinion, and opinions can be kind of cruel sometimes. Sometimes even our own opinions of our own stuff can be cruel. So the first golden rule, the only golden rule that I follow is to be kind to yourself. This is so important for creatives because, again, we're operating in an environment where we're asking people to, have an opinion about the things that we're sharing. And it's, the act of creating stuff is very personal. So it's very easy to put stuff out there and take it personally when somebody doesn't like it, or, go too far with our own self kind of thoughts when we don't like what we've done. So just be kind to yourself. Like, be aware that, it is opinion, and it's okay if somebody doesn't like what you're doing, and it's okay if you don't like what you're doing in any particular moment. You just want to keep moving forward and trying to do better. And that's the most important thing, is aspiring to be better than you are right now, whether or not, you reach some kind of arbitrary, goal of being as good as this person or as good as you think you want to be. Just be trying to move forward. That's the most important thing, not being, measuring up to a particular standard. So that's the number one thing. But the second thing, and this is really important too, is don't wait for your muse to find you. Don't wait for inspiration to come to you. So this is my second rule. I think it's a mistake, for one, to expect to be inspired before you move into a creative mode. It's also kind of an illusion. Like, you have to wait for like divine inspiration to come down from the heavens above before you're really able to create something. And I think that's it hurts your creative output. If you want to be creative, if you want to put out good music, waiting until you're inspired is a surefire way to not do that. Like, sure, you every once in a while, you will feel inspired and you will go and you will make something good, and it will, feel good to do that. But you're leaving a lot of stuff on the table, a lot of creative stuff and a lot of inspiration you're leaving on the table by waiting for that feeling to strike you first. Like, one way that I think about this and is like, I've been in a band for a long time, and for anyone who has collaborated with other people in a live setting, you go to practice, and you don't always feel like it, right? Like, have you ever gone to practice like, oh, I am not in the mood for this today, and you just don't want to do that. You don't want to be there. You're not feeling creative, but you're obligated to do it. You know, you promised people you would be there, so you show up anyway. And what happens? Not always, but what happens sometimes is you go in and you are either miserable or whatever. You don't really feel like it. You're not feeling up to it. But you start playing and everybody's doing their thing. And sometimes somebody will play something and it'll shake something loose in your mind. And you're all of a sudden you've gone from not being in the mood to being a little interested. And you might start playing something that sounds kind of good. And you go from not having any interest in being there to being in the moment. You know, you can get from disinterest to interest really quickly, I've found. And that's the kind of thing that you miss out on if you're taking this like idea that like I need to be inspired before I start being creative. Like I can't sit down and do it until I feel my muse is here, then I'm going to sit down and do it. You know, you're missing out on that stuff. So basically, you feeling inspired doesn't mean that when you sit down. So if you're feeling it, if you're like, you just listen to your favorite album and you're like, wow, I really feel like doing music right now. And you sit down, you're really feeling it, but that doesn't mean that feeling inspired at the end of that session that you're going to have something that you're happy with. But the converse is also true. So if you're not feeling inspired, sitting down doesn't mean you're not going to come out with something that you love. So it's a false choice that you have, right? Like you can't be like, well, I'm not feeling it, so there's no way that once I reach the other side of whatever I'm going to do, it's going to be bad. Like that's not how it works. You know, you sit down and you work at it, and if you're actively working on it, you're going to often find that you're going to dislodge something and you're going to find yourself in that creative mode before very long, and it's going to stoke that creative fire in you and you're going to want to keep moving. But if you're doing something else, you're missing out on that opportunity. So that's really the kind of important thing to keep in mind with this idea that you need to have like inspiration before you start. It's a false idea. And this video is a good example of it too, because I told myself like a couple of months ago, like I want to start doing videos regularly. I want to do at least one video a week. And like all week I've been kind of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what my concept is going to be. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I have a whole list of stuff that in my phone notes I put in my phone of stuff over the last couple of months that for ideas that I can, pick from, but I want to feel like I'm inspired to talk about something, because then it's easier to talk about, right? And so today I was like, all right, I gotta get this video. I gotta do something for a video. So I'm gonna go take a walk. I take my lunch while I always walk on my work for lunch, and so I would go out for my work walk, and I'm thinking like, what can I do? I need to put out a video. I want to do this, and I wasn't really particularly inspired, but by the time I got back, I knew what I wanted to do. I felt inspired. Now I do want to do it. Like now I got home and I wrote down all these notes and, about stuff that I can, bring up and that kind of thing. And, you go from not really feeling it to, okay, yeah, now I got a path forward just by doing it. So showing up is such an important thing. And, all of that said, though, you have to also keep in mind that it's okay not to do that. So if you're genuinely just not interested in doing something creative at a particular moment, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, don't feel bad about that. And this goes back to that first point. Don't beat yourself up. You know, you don't have to be spending every waking moment that you're not doing something else by, you know, sitting down in front of your computer trying to create a song or something like that. But when you're, you know, when you're feeling like, well, I don't have anything to do, and, you know, I'm just kind of bored, you could be creating something and you say you want to be creative, but like, don't make that an excuse, you know, that lack of inspiration in the moment. Don't let that be an excuse not to spend those boring moments like trying, like, well, you know, I'll sit down for 15 minutes and try something and see what happens. And then 5 minutes in, you got some inspiration and you're like, okay, now I'm off to the races. So, you know, again, just two really important things to keep in mind. Just don't beat yourself up if you are not reaching your creative goals or whatever, and don't make excuses for why you can't do something creative unless you just don't want to do it. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. Just be honest with yourself. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So again, like, I'll be doing more videos in the near future about, you know, different ways to actually do specific things, different techniques you can use to break out of those kind of ruts. But this is the pie in the sky video about, you know how to do that. So I got nothing else. Later.